to any of those who were joining us for live stream. We're just started the meeting before we realized that we weren't online. So we're having a presentation on Inspiring Innisfil 2030 and the draft that we're hoping can go out for consultation to the public. So we're any other questions or comments? Councillor Nicol.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just fired up the live stream and I don't see it there yet, so I don't know if there's a lag or a delay, but it's not on the YouTube channel just yet.
Other questions? Councillor Payne.
Thank you, Your Worship. You answered one of my questions. It's going out to the residents. Is it possible for these to be in the library, that they can be circulated to people that go into the library, or like all of the libraries in Innisfil? Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Councillor Asadi.
Back to the date issue, thank you. Why the, the Deputy Mayor has raised a good concern about the timing for the residents for getting back by October 15th and a short deadline. Why the urgency to have that in the October 23rd council? And what's the impact if it's after that date?
Okay. Try it now. There we go. The intent was to try to get the final feedback from the public and incorporate that into a final report for council approval prior to a planned budget adjustments report that is scheduled to come in the first meeting in November. We can certainly extend the timeline for the public consultation, but that would be the impact, is that we may not be able to get that final report approved in advance of the budget adjustments report being presented.
Questions or comments? So it's hard to believe it took us 2 full days to do this, but it was quite the experience. I really did appreciate Mr. Matheson and his guidance throughout the whole process. At what point, or will it be before the budget that we see the implementation plans? Will that come out next?
The first implementation plan would come with the approval of the 21-22 budget, simply because effectively the implementation plan for 20 is already baked into the multi-year budget that was approved for 19 and 20. We can certainly find a way to pull that information out to create a document for reporting purposes for the 20.
So the idea of this and why it's so important, and we want to make sure it captures the essence of where we want to go, is because this will be the document that everything that staff does, it will have to fit into one of these strategic goals. So we want to make sure we get it right, and we want to make sure that we do actually get the engagement that we hope to get. Mr. Rayner, any thoughts on I guess my concern now is if we're not going to use this document for the 2020 budget or the budget update, then why do we need to have it approved on the 23rd?
Yeah, so great point, Your Worship, members of council, and certainly the intention is to be able to have this inform the 2020 operational plan as well. But Ken's right, most of that was already approved as part of the 2-year budget cycle. But the report you'll get in November is the budget update. And on that multi-year policy that relates to budgets over 2 years, there is an opportunity certainly for council to weigh in and provide some direction. Particularly, I think in this case where, you approved the last budget with only a few months into your term, and you were still determining what council's priorities were. And so I think if any of those priorities have to shift, they would shift related to, as your worship has pointed out, the strategic plan that you're now adopting, that is really supposed to start in 2020, but when in 2020 is really up to you. But because it's incremental, it's not a huge shift in direction. The Grow, Connect, Sustain goals are the same, and just some of the implementation pieces, or some of the overarching strategic objectives, I should say, have changed. Certainly that would be your opportunity to direct staff to incorporate specific items that you'd like to see and modifications to the 2020 budget. So that's why we are trying to get it approved by then. But you're absolutely right. In some ways, we're interested in the feedback from, not in some ways, we are interested in the feedback from the community. And I think based on the response, we can certainly report out to you, your worship, and members of council, if in fact there's an overwhelming response and a need for, or a lot of requests for extension to that timeline. Happy to do that. But like many things, we get a survey in our inbox, and if we don't do it right away, I'm not sure an extra month helps. Thanks, your worship.
It's funny you said that, Mr. Rayner, because I know that's me. I either do it as soon as I get it, or I do it the day before the deadline, and the in-between time is, doesn't matter how long or short it is. I either do it right away or at the very deadline. Any other comments or questions? Thank you. So the other question I would have is in regards to any word tweaking. So we all did it. We all sat in that room and we tweaked this word and we tweaked that word and we went over it and over it, and every time we went back to it, we'd find something else. So if there's opportunity for council as well before the 15th of October, if they see something that stands out that they think needs further consideration, that they can do that as well?
Definitely.
Great. Okay, so then the recommendation is as printed, that it be received, and that we receive comments from the community, and that a final copy comes to council on October the 23rd. Councillor, Mr. Rayner.
Thank you, Worship. Just one other note. Council is very well connected into the community, and although we haven't planned a formal engagement strategy that includes presentations to various clubs and organizations and agencies in the community, the communications engagement team, as Mr. Schiller noted, is available. But you're also, we'd also encourage you, if you'd like copies to take to a particular meeting, because you're engaging with some residents and you want to get their feedback. Sometimes those nudges, if I can call them that, are really an effective way to get people thinking about it, and it is their future that you're attempting to discern. So happy to have more of that input if possible, and if you need copies, please let us know.
Thank you. Can I have a mover and a seconder for the recommendation? Councillor Fowler and Councillor Nicol. All those in favor of the recommendation? Any opposed? That's carried unanimously. I want to thank staff for the work that they've put into this project, and I look forward to hearing what the residents think of our strategic direction for the next 10.5 years. And that concludes this section of the meeting. We'll move into the public planning session, but if, Mr. Clerk, if I'm correct, if we've advertised for 7 o'clock, we actually can't start till 7 o'clock, is that right? Okay, so we have 10 minutes. Thank you.